not going to be easy for the Bears going forward. So let's talk about it. What is going on, everybody? So welcome back to a brand new video here on the channel. So today we're going to go over what is next for the Chicago Bears, and there's some things I wanted to address. Like I said, there's not going to be that much in detail. But before we get to it, if you guys are new, make sure to hit the like button. Also hit that subscribe button. Make sure to hit that notification bell so you guys won't miss any of the new videos or live streams. And with that being said, let's just hop right into the video. What is going on, everybody? So obviously it's been it's been a hectic 4 weeks for the Chicago Bears, and so far we've seen a lot of the problems that the Bears have had since the last couple of years, but probably a lot longer than a lot of people didn't realize. But today, there's a lot of things. There's some things I want to kind of go over a little bit in terms of the Chicago Bears. One in particular, Justin Fields. Now, the thing with Justin Fields, to a lot of the NFL fan base, and mostly for the Chicago Bears fan base as well, that he's kind of one of those quarterbacks that's under very hard scrutiny, because the thing is the fact that, he was supposed to take a big leap forward in terms of a passer. Obviously, led the league in rushing last year. But obviously against the Denver Broncos, probably had the best game he's had in his 3 years with the Chicago Bears. Overall went 28 for 35, throwing for 355 yards, 4 touchdowns, and a pick. And that interception came at probably the worst possible time. Late in the game against the Denver Broncos. And speaking of that, quite honestly, and it's like Justin Fields, it just seems like there's been a lot of question marks surrounding him. Was the fact that, is he the guy? Is he not the guy? Because the Bears have not done well in terms of developing quarterbacks in their franchise history, outside of guys like maybe Jim McMahon prior to their Super Bowl years. But the Bears it's been very disappointing. And like I said, and there's probably going to be in the comment section say, that's no surprise that the Bears are disappointing. And yeah, you're right. But we're seeing what we saw last year. Obviously last year the Bears went 3-14, and that's, my friends, and especially to Bears fans that I know personally, and just Bears fans in general, that another thing that I want to touch on as well is Matt Eberflus. My apologies. Matt Eberflus, for lack of a better term, is how most people would say hot garbage. And what I mean by that, was probably the most embarrassing loss, and it's not saying much because you played against a crappy Denver Broncos defense who is not that great either. You completely blew a 28-7 lead against the Broncos, and Matty Eberflus is now, at some point, has to be held accountable for his mistakes. Now, yes, you can probably blame a lot of players for not executing, but in terms of the play calling for the defensive side of the football, it's Matty Eberflus ain't it for the Chicago Bears. And obviously the loss to the Broncos extends that losing streak to Matty Eberflus as it goes to 14 games. So now he is 3-14 so far as as an NFL head coach. And quite honestly, I know probably Bears fans are fed up with it. And it's sad to say, because this franchise has been one of the longest running franchises since the history of the NFL. And it really showed that the defense is not competent enough, and especially under Eberflus as well, who's supposed to be the defensive minded guy to really help this defense. And the defense has No, yes, granted, the one thing that's, for most of 3/4, or say most of the first half for the Bears, they played some solid defense. But that's where the second half, where Matt Eberflus just says, screw it, so to speak. And that kind of really brings me to Ryan Poles, the GM Ryan Poles, because right now, really look at this roster of the Chicago Bears. It's been nothing short of trash, disappointment. Like I said, there's a lot of words you could probably describe this Bears team, not just at face value, but what you see each and every week. Because right now the Bears are 0-4, and Ryan Poles, he's got to be more. He's got to do something to one, improve the offensive line. Which, boy, how many times the Bears I've been hearing Bears fans, complain about the offensive line because Justin Fields has been constantly running for his godforsaken life, and quite honestly, it's ridiculous. And the defense needs work too, especially in the secondary. You know, yeah, it's like the defense, just seem they don't care. And it's kind of get to the point where, changes need to be made. And to take it in particular, which I'll talk about the changes later on, about what changes should be made going forward for the Bears. Um, yeah, speaking of the defense, like I said, we've seen this defense where, yeah, right now that's the best game that they played offensively, but defensively, it's not. It's been very bad through 4 weeks, and quite honestly, it's not looking good. And I'm not really not saying that as a surprise for anybody. Is the fact that, yeah, this defensive line, there's not really much to go off of. There's a lack of a run defense. The pass defense is non-existent. And look, there's like I said, this entire Bears franchise has been nothing but short of disappointing for the last, oh, I don't know, since prior to 1986, which we'll talk about, which rolls me to my next point of conversation, is the ownership. Now, I will say this. I did make a video in the past talking about the ownership, mostly on Virginia McCaskey. But I won't touch more on it because, let's be real, the ownership has not really been, they haven't really done this franchise justice. And for those who are wondering, yeah, what do you mean by that? Good question. The way I say it, the way I look at it is because, number one, they're still they're still stuck in the ways of what the 1985 Bears did in terms of, having that stout defense. And quite honestly, they're still stuck in the ways for the last almost 3.5 decades at this point. And remember, Virginia McCaskey, ever since he took over in 1986, pretty much gutted the entire Super Bowl roster when he fired Mike Ditka, who was probably the best, one of the, outside of, probably the most winningest head coach in terms for the longest time before he unfortunately brought in Matt Nagy. Now, the one thing with Matt Nagy, yeah, hasn't really been the greatest, but he has been one of their other winning coaches besides, and same with Lovie Smith. But the McCaskies, they have not done this franchise any justice. And I'm going to say this too: the Bears, they need to sell the team. I'm sorry, like I just don't think the Bears and the I'm sorry, the McCaskies are so incompetent to run probably a historic franchise in the Chicago Bears, and yet and continues to put out a crappy product year in, year out. Go cycle quarterbacks. Like I said, there's really not much to say on the McCaskies other than the fact that I know Bears fans are probably not really going to say it, but I will say they are not fond of the McCaskies because they still think you're still behind a black and white TV. And George, well, boy, I know how most Bears fans tells him he's probably much the idiot of pretty much the village idiot, I guess you could say, within the Bears organization. Virginia, I'm pretty sure most Bears fans do not like her because she doesn't even know how to run a franchise. God bless her for being, 99. Late happy birthday to her. But in reality, it's the Bears have not been, what they could be. And all sense, from ownership to the front office and definitely to coaching, because let's be that coaching staff is not it. I'm sorry. Luke Getsy, he is, oh, jeez. Yeah, what I even want to say about Luke Getsy. trash. I will say that much. But all in all, in terms of the changes, I do want to see with this franchise. Number one, because it's need to have to sell the franchise, because the fact that you're potentially moving out of Soldier Field into a new park or a new stadium, I think in Arlington Park, I think it is. So let me know in the comments down below. Matt Eberflus has to be gone out this year. There's no reason he should be having another year with the Chicago Bears. And same with Luke Getsy. I'm sorry, I don't think Luke Getsy is the kind of guy that was. It's not that great of an offensive coordinator, and and honestly, and I'm pretty sure. I think another change I could see is Justin Fields probably making his way out of Chicago, and because it's going to be another year where the Bears they suck at drafting quarterbacks, but that's all I'm saying. That so. With that being said, what are you guys' thoughts so far of what my changes and a little bit of my discussions with the Chicago Bears? Because, like I said, I'm not really going to go in more in depth because I think this is kind of we all know where the problems lie with the Chicago Bears. Let me know in the comment sections down below. And with that being said, this is Robert from the Sports and Wrestling Connection. I'll see you guys in the next video.